that is approximately 19 to 20 litres. I'm going to guess that ridge mark there is 20 litres. Because of my calculation, 1 kilo equaling 1 litre, it works out about 19.5. So, yeah, it took me a lot of wiggling to get it working. Basically, I think it's that wire where it's not in there properly. Now, as it's a metal jar container full of liquid, I'm a bit concerned. So I sent a pissed off message back to the supplier saying it's dangerous because of the wire hanging out. They reckon that everything leaves perfect, so it could just be the customs, or it could be them, I don't know. The fact that none of the lights worked and I had to unplug it, plug it in several times to get it working. Right now I've got it on the lowest possible setting, which I think would make it, it's here, that's where the knob is on the top there. 30 is here. And I think 80 is down there. So you're talking about 20 Celsius, that's what it's meant to be. If it works, if the thermometer is going to work, if it does get to the point where that starts to bubble, I'm going to unplug it and go and get. Worst case scenario is a very expensive brewing bucket, because that's starting to steam a little bit. I did have it on full blast to start with, and it didn't like working. It could have been something simple like there was a layer of sugar and the syrupy stuff on the bottom. That could have made it not want to switch on, but I don't think so. It's not the sockets, because I tried them with other electrical things and they worked fine. There was a slight, I can hear hissing. There was a slight arc when I plugged it in. Okay, I'm checking for leaks. No leaks. Okay. Because whenever I've used it, so the past 2 times I've used it twice now. This is the 3rd time. There's always been a puddle. I was assuming that was from water from the plumbing. This time there's no plumbing. It's going to be that in the lid on there. I wasn't going to put on the rubber seal. I'm not sure if that noise is coming from outside or that still. Anyway, I'll find the rubber seal in a minute, put it on there. Limiting. I mean, part of me is tempted to actually put the full pipework on top, just in case it does decide to vomit a load of crap up. I need to go and find a thermometer. Yeah, I sent a pissed off message to the suppliers. Honestly, I cannot be fucking bothered packing all this up and sending it back. Yes, it was 180 quid. I just don't know if I want the grief, to be honest. Of having to pack it up, take it down to the post office, carrying it. I mean, it's not heavy, but it's bulky to carry. But yeah, I don't know. It's. Don't tell me there's a puddle underneath it as well. Is that leaking or not? See, there's a little bit of moisture there. Now I don't know if that's coming from the thing itself. Yeah, it's leaking. Shit. That's leaking. Yeah, so it's leaking as well. Yeah, it could just be where I poured the water from there into here and it hasn't dried off, but I don't know. I'm going to have to have a look and see if it is leaking underneath it. I'm going to put some cardboard, which I got there, underneath it, just to have a look. Problems, other than the wiring being suspect. I'm still pretty sure it is customs. Anyway, I sent a message to them saying that it is dangerous because of the dodgy wiring. And all of my messages, and I had about 40 on AliExpress, just disappeared completely. Anyway, what I didn't take into account with this is that the ambient room temperature is about 15 to 20 Celsius. Which means that 12 hours later, because it's now 6 o'clock in the morning, it's still too warm to put in the yeast. It's just over 30 degrees Celsius, and the room temperature is 20. And I'm going to have to go and get some netting and put over the top, because if I leave it open like this, bugs are going to get in. I mean, at this rate, it's going to be another 12 hours before it cools down enough. So, but yeah, with the room temperature, I'm not going to need to plug it in to actually have it at a fermentable temperature, because 20 to 25 is about right. Also, what I'm going to do, oh, by the way, that is now as near to 23 litres as I can reasonably get. I'm pretty sure, yeah, that is actually a bubble. It's not a fly. And, yeah, I put in another 2 litres of cold water. So that is 23 litres up to that mark, which is maybe 1 or 2 inches below the top. There might actually be a little line. I'm not sure if there's a line there or not. No, there's not. Okay. Yeah, that is basically 23 litres. Because of how high up it is, there is no way can I just put on the lid and after putting in yeast, because that'll just bubble up straight through the lid. Because the lid it's not flat across. So that was just going to bubble up. So what I'm going to have to do is, when I do put it on, is put on that pipe work. And then that downspout where the spirits would normally come out, what I'll do is put that into a container of water. See, all you want to do is have like an airlock, like this thing, to stop bacteria and bad stuff getting into your mix. So if you put your outspout into a container of water, it'll bubble and the gas comes out, the CO2. Oh yeah, other things. If you're going to have it in a non-ventilated room, don't have it, because the CO2 will build up and it can kill you, or at the very least give you a bloody headache. I live in a very ventilated room. In the living room, it's very well ventilated. It's a big enough room, and I always have the doors open. There's a lot of airflow. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. So yeah, right now I'm going to go and have coffee. I've been awake. I always wake up about 3 o'clock in the morning for some reason, and yeah, so coffee, caffeine, bickies, and I've got some netting. I'm going to put some of my netting on top of this, so I can actually keep the bugs out, and that way it can still cool down. I tell you something, I mean, it's not perfect for putting on to keep the bugs out, but that little umbrella mesh thing is brilliant. I keep it on top of my throat. Yeah, baby. In the kitchen to keep the bugs off. And yeah, that is brilliant. It's just the right size, it fits over it. I mean, yeah, bugs may still get in. I got a sieve, I can always skip them out. A little orbs floating around in here as well. So yeah, I'm going to have to wait for it to cool down for another few hours. And I could go and get a bottle of water, put it in the freezer, and then put that in there. And that would cool it down even faster. But honestly, I'm not that bothered. I mean, I've still got... I don't drink that much ale. I've got that keg there, which is nearly full. So I don't drink a massive amount of ale. I drink more spirits than ale. But yeah. I mean, it's not plugged in, well, it's not switched on at the moment. I will be curious to see whether or not it will maintain temperature. But I'm not going to need to, because the ambient temperature is 20 Celsius. I think. I'm pretty sure it is about 20 Celsius. Can't actually read this because my eyesight is diabolical. But it's an American phone, so it's shit. Not even going to focus, is it? Let's have a look. Yeah, it's 18 Celsius. Pretty sure it says 18 Celsius. And it's 6 o'clock in the morning, which means by the time it gets to, daylight, it's going to be up to 20 Celsius. Global warming. Not according to Trump, because he wants to sell you oil and gas and petrol and shit. Okay, it's been 24 hours. I am bored. It has gotten down to 26 degrees Celsius. You're not meant to put your yeast in until it gets to 25. I can't be asked. I'm so sick of waiting. It's not just sick of waiting. I've got to have the windows open to try and get the temperature down more, and it's going to attract bugs. It's that simple. So 26 Celsius, yeast is going in. I did mess about with the thermostat on the still, just to see whether or not it would click on at a certain temperature. And as it's around about 25 Celsius, it did click at a certain point, So I turned it back a little bit. So that way, hopefully, tonight, I'll switch it on, and then that should keep it at about 25 Celsius, or between 20 and 25 Celsius. The ambient room temperature is about 18, even with the bloody window open, it's about 18 Celsius, I think. Let's have a look. Room temperature is 17 Celsius, which is a fermentable temperature. So that is now meant to just sit there and then lid it up, and you're not even meant to stir it in, which is a bit weird in my brain, but that's what the instructions say. So what I'm going to do, rather than put in, because what you could do, if there's less in there, if it was down, say 20 litres instead of 23, what I would do is, so I've got the rubber seal on, and I'm crapping myself, let's see it fall off and it fall into there. So what I'm going to do, that goes on. Nice and even. What you could do is just put your bubble thing in there, and then let it go. But because of how much there is in there, and because it's specific yeast for ale, if you get specific yeast, whether it's for ale or whether it's for spirits, if it's one of these specific manufactured type yeast, they tend to be very, very vigorous, which means you can get a bit of a blast when it first kicks off. They actually warn you to expect it. I don't like these class, they feel so weak. They work, they just feel weak. So next, this is going on. I'm not taking these pipes off simply because every time you move this kind of stuff, it weakens it. So I'm just going to leave it on there. It's not going to be an issue. It's not going to be in contact with the fluid, because that is just a cooling thing. So that can now go on. Can't hear anything because there's traffic outside. But it should be quite obvious when it does actually start working. You should be able to feel it vibrating and moving around. Yeah, it's one of those times when that clear sight glass I've got on order, having that would have been just the right amount of height, I reckon, so I can see what's actually happening. Right, that's on there. Okay, next is going to be the dodgy bit, and that's when I get this on the floor. I was going to leave it up here, but if it does get really vigorous and is wobbling around, this is a dodgy ass table. So I'd rather it's on the ground for the time being, and that way I can always manoeuvre it afterwards. Luckily, it does have handles. Why is that being a pain? Okay, the black bit on there, that's what goes in the immersion pump. Now, if this doesn't actually kick off, I've got to come out today at some point. If it doesn't kick off by this evening, because right now it's about midday, then all I'll do is take the lid off, probably get flooded, take the lid off and just put in some bread maker's yeast. I'll mix them up in a litre thing first, and I'll make like half a litre of it up with a bit of sugar, make sure it's frothing and going, then I'll just put it in there to kick it off, because that's all it would probably need. And the main thing is not so much the yeast, that's an extra to make it taste nice. The main ingredient is that bag of hops, barley and whatever else they put in there. Mixed up squirrels probably. Now for the fun bit. You see, I've got really knackered joints and nerves and tendons, which means they can spasm at any time. That's like one of the big problems. Because if they decide to spasm, then I just drop stuff without it, no choice. And this is 23 litres plus, oh you cunt. Yeah, because that thing is still plugged in. thought the cable was longer than that. My mistake. Right, okay, try again. Oh my fucking wrists. Shit. Right. Ta-da! Oh, fuck. So the reason I got these scars here, that's from surgery from a crash where hands were on the handlebars of a motorbike. At the time I was about 5 miles an hour stuck in traffic. Car came out, smacked straight into the front of the bike. And so they got smashed out. Right, so it's down and hopefully that will kick off. Like I said, if it doesn't, it's not an issue. Because I can just get some bread maker's yeast, use that to kick it over. Right, so I need something to put this on. Do I want to risk my books under a container of water? Nope, I don't. So I'm going to use that. What you've got to do is have your pipe in water. So if you've got it in a container of water, then that way bacteria and stuff can't get back up the pipe to infect your beer. So, yeah. Hopefully at some point that'll start going gloop gloop gloop. It needs something else to sit on because that's going to be too dodgy. Step off. Oh, I do. Hello. Hello. Oh, what's that? Okay, that should be. Not too short. Books. Now I'll rescue a couple of bugs. There we go. It's literally just to keep. Oh, that's not mouse droppings. That's jibberberry. It turns your vodka into gin. So that is it. Now all we've got to do is wait and hope that that yeast does its job. It always feels to me that it's colder than what it is, because according to me, it feels like it's like 10, 15 degrees. According to that, it's 26. So yeah, that is it. It's not plugged in. I'll plug it in tonight, if it works, just to keep it at that temperature. So yeah, that is where we are right now. So we've got our tube in there, and if it works as it's meant to, that will start bubbling. If it works. It's just weird because it says to just sprinkle it on top, not to stir in the yeast, which to me doesn't make logical sense. But anyway, there we go. Okay, 6 hours later, and I just lit off and it's doing nothing. It's just sat there. It's doing absolutely nothing. 6 hours later, the yeast has dropped down into it and it's done nothing. I just checked the temperature and it's at 22 degrees Celsius. So it has been at the optimum temperature the entire time and it has done absolutely nothing. I mean, to me that feels too cold. It feels cold. But then my body always runs hot. But I checked it with my kiddie stuff in the ear thermometer. I checked with my other thermometer and they both say the same. It's at 21 to 22 Celsius and it's doing nothing. So what I'm going to have to do is, I've got some bread yeast. I'm going to go make up some bread yeast, maybe half a litre with some warm water. I'm going to put a little bit of sugar in it after it's had half an hour to sit. So once I know for sure it's active, then it's going to go in here, because that is doing absolutely nothing. Yeah, that yeast was shit. Sometimes you get dead yeast. That yeast was absolute shit. It's not much. It's not raging. But we do have activity. There we go. It's activity. It's not a lot of activity, but it is some activity. I overestimated how much I was making up, so it only got half the dose I was going to put in. For a bit of it, is that? Please don't tell me that's actually leaking out through the fucking... Oh, don't tell me the thing's broken as well. See if that's coming out through this piece, then that means that piece is fucked, which is no good for a still. I need to get some more tissue I can clean it off. Yes, use wet tissue to clean it off. See if that is actually bubbling out there because it's a broken seal, then that means I can't use it as a still because it'll just explode. Right, I'm going to have to go have a look. I put the heater back on a little bit again. It just feels too cold. But I cleaned it all off. I cleaned it all off around the top there, and there is definitely little bubbles coming up. Now, it looks as if someone's put the pipe in and then just spot welded it into place. Now, I don't know if it's meant to be there fixed, permanent, with the welding, or if you're meant to be able to take it out. If it's something you can take out and it's threaded, then you can just take it out, wrap some gas tape around it and put it back in. That's fine. But as there's no instructions in English, then I don't know. So we've got a bit of a gloop on the go now because I put the heat back on. I think the entire tank just got too cold. But it's registering for some reason as 22 Celsius. For some reason, I don't know why. And right now, the only way for me to check the temperature is, I'm not going to go by the top pipe. The only way for me to check the actual temperature, although that's saying 18, is to actually take this top pipe off and then put my thumb down inside there. But I've checked the temperature and I don't know. It is very disappointing because I was having such high hopes for this thing, this still. And that first batch I did, the spirits, it worked fine, it worked great. But right now, is there another leak in there as well? But the damage could have been caused by, I don't want to slag off the Chinese company that makes them, because it could just be customs fucked them en route. If that's the case, there are things they can do politically to stop that happening. They can make a big bloody fuss about it. But end of the day, I'm the customer, they're the supplier, and what I got was broken. It's damaged goods. As it is, that wire is still a bloody worry down there because it's loose. When I finish this batch, what I might do is try and take the bottom off somehow, I don't know how, and then just try and tighten the wires up. Because it works if you get the wires wiggled into the right place, and you shouldn't have to do that with a brand new thing. So, it's doing nothing. And the only thing I can really do, I'm going to let it sit for a while. Actually, sorry, I'm going to leave the heat on. I say heat. I've got it set down there for about 20 to 25 Celsius. I'm going to leave it switched on. If it gets too hot, it's going to flood up this pipe and down this pipe and out here onto the frigging carpet. I don't really give a shit that much, to be honest. But if it doesn't actually kick off properly tonight, I'm not going to leave it switched on overnight. Not a chance in hell. If it doesn't work, then what I'll do tomorrow, I mean, it's not going to get wasted. I'll just scoop out 2 or 3 litres, so I've got space in the thing. The booze won't get wasted. I'll put it in with my another bucket. It'll get added to the next batch of spirits I do. Give it a bit more flavour. But I'll just make up some more bread yeast to put it in. For some reason, the yeast does not want to work for some reason. I was using packet yeast and it smelt live, it smelt great, it just wasn't not work. It just didn't want to work. And now this thing is bubbling a little bit down there. It's just a bit expensive for a big kettle. which is essentially what I might end up being left with. It was so good the first time I used it, and now it's... The thing is, if I were to have bought one from England, the only real option you've got with this kind of setup is called a T600. That's all anyone seems to sell. And you're talking 600 quid. And that was the last time I looked, and that would have been 2 years ago. About 2 to 3 years ago, they would have been £600. And I've no idea how much they are now. But they're basically exactly the same, made in China. I don't know. I'm not even going to bother trying to get a refund. I'm too angry. It's that simple. Small things I don't mind. Carting it down to the post office to get a return label and slap it on. But this, I wouldn't be able to. It's that simple. I'd have to pay for a taxi. And I don't want to have to go and pay more money on the off chance that I might get a refund. Yes, it's 180 quid, 179 quid. I'm not that worried about the money. Money's not that big of an issue to me. It's just irritating. It's that simple. So I'm going to leave that switched on, see how it goes. It's not even bubbling at the moment, but as long as that doesn't start bubbling again and hissing, it might do. It could just be a case of that's a pipe that's screwed in and it needs to be screwed in tighter. That could be all it is. Yeah, it's bubbling again. You see, I don't know if it is a screwed in pipe or if it is something that was put in and then welded. If that's the case, I don't know. If it was instructions, it would be easier. Well, the fermenting is working, but it's also pissing out there. It's not turning when I try twisting the top piece. So it's not, I don't think it's screwed, I think it is welded and it's just a dodgy weld. There's literally a couple of spots of weld to hold it in place. And I don't know what I can do about it. I don't have a welding torch. And it's starting to attract bugs. And there's absolutely nothing I can do about it. See, I got my pipe in the thing, but it's coming out here instead of there. And the only other thing I can think to do... Oh, I said that and it burped. Well, the only thing I can think to do is to take this off and put the airlock on, but that's not going to stop it bubbling up. I mean, it might do, but... I mean, all I can really do is just put the manky tissue around it to try and stop the bugs getting in. I mean, that might help to slow it down coming out. But that is just fucking irritating. It's really annoying because I had such high hopes for this thing. And it's no good. Oh well. I mean, I still don't know if it's going to be any good as a still for spirits. I don't know. Well, what I'm going to do before I go to bed later on is I'll switch on the mains for half an hour before I go to bed, just to put more warmth into it before I go to sleep. Go and crash out. I'm not going to leave it plugged in overnight. But it's going to attract bugs, and that's what I do not want. That's just, and it's nothing I can do about it. I mean, if I were to put the that thing in it, I could then put my netting over the top, which would help to keep the bugs off it. But right now, because it's so much in there, it's just going to flood out. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it's up here somewhere, liquid. That's really annoying. And there's no bubbles at all coming out there now. And that's cold. See, that shouldn't be cold. It's a little bit warm down there. Yeah, so it's got warmth in it. See, I don't go as much by thermometers. I go by feel, and it doesn't feel warm enough. But I'm going to leave it to go. I'll ignore it until later, and then I'll give it half an hour with it switched on, and it can gurgle away for a bit. But God, it's a pain in the ass. It is. I mean, one thing that is nice. It's an expensive learning curve, but it is something I can modify. I could go and get myself a little welding torch. You know, something fairly cheap, and just put in weld around that area. Literally just to fill it up. Yeah, as long as it takes the pressure. Because if it's that weak, it's not going to handle the extra weight of my glass pipe, which is going to be that sort of size. I'm not too pissed off. It's a toy. Some things when you spend money on, even cheap things, it can piss you off if it goes wrong, because it's something that you're banking on. This is a toy. If my old still were to be fucked, if I didn't have any booze in the house, I might get pissed off. I wouldn't get that pissed off. I can just walk to a shop and buy something. I'm not that much of an alcoholic. I mean, I've also been cutting down a lot on my booze intake. So I noticed it was getting to the point where it was every day, several times a day. A litre a week at one point of vodka, homemade. So the past 2 days I had a shot before I left lunchtime because I knew I'd be out walking for a long time, and that's all I've had so far today. And I might have a can of lager. I actually bought a crate of lager last week, so I have a can of lager. So I'm cutting down a lot on my booze intake. See, that's what you need. Yes, you can use your plastic things if you want to. But all you need to do is to get the exhaust pipe into a container of water to stop any bacteria getting back up inside the pipe and contaminate your drink. Which of course could happen if you don't block up the bloody leak. But that seems to be stopping it from leaking. That pipe got warm. It shouldn't have done, but it did. Just it means it stinks of fucking beer in here now. But yeah, the gas coming out there means that I blocked up most of that hole. Still a little bit. Yeah, it's working away. So all I'm going to do, I'm not going to turn it on again tonight because it's got plenty of warmth in there. That should, because it's insulated, it'll keep the warmth in overnight. So tomorrow before I go out for my hike, if I go camping, I should do, depending on the weather, see how it goes. I don't mind it raining when I'm out, I just don't want it raining as I'm walking. So if I do get to go out tomorrow, fingers crossed, I'll put it on for half an hour to warm up. And then hopefully in a couple of weeks, I'll have some more beer. I like the beer that I've got. It's just, it started off life as a porter. Don't say that's leaking. I don't think it's leaking. It just seems weird. I hope that's not leaking. How was I saying? Alcohol fumes and CO2 does not make a brain work well. Bollocks, my brain's just fried. Yeah, I've got the porter mixed in with a couple of things of pale ale. But it's nice, but it's still a little bit too dark. That's why I prefer just having a pale ale rather than a porter. A porter, the word porter is a racist term. It comes from back in the olden days when the person who held the door open in a hotel or a building was a black guy. Yeah, that's why it's called a porter. Because a porter is a dark flavoured, dark coloured drink. So your ale, your spirits, your port, if it's called a porter, it's because it's dark. Because a porter was a black person who held the door before he'd be your slave. That's where the word porter comes from. Move that a bit closer. Do a little bit more water in there. Because the water does evaporate. Yeah, that's gurgling away quite happily. So, hopefully, I need to write down. If you get a water-based pen, you can just write it on the thing and just wipe it off afterwards. So I need to remember that was today, and in 8 days' time, that should stop gurgling. Basically, after a week, if the gurgling stops, it's done. Then give it another week after that, and it should settle down. Now, if you want to turn your ale into fizzy beer, after your week's fermentation, you have to have a pressurized container to do it. You can't just do it in a keg like this. After your week's fermentation, you put in another kilo of sugar for every 20 odd litres of liquid. And that kilo of sugar, instead of the CO2 escaping, your carbon, instead of it escaping, you block up the hole, keep it a pressurized container, and all that carbon will be forced into your drink. And therefore your drink will become carbonated. Carbon forced into the liquid as bubbles. That's where you get the expression carbonated. You're forcing the carbon into your drink, which is actually poison. That fizzy stuff is actually poisonous. So, yeah. Glug, glug, glug. It's a sort of thing I can quite happily sit just listening to, watching. Right. That is going to get ignored until tomorrow. Still no word from the supplier. I did get a couple of messages from them, but they just keep saying, oh, we'll sort you out. But they don't actually say anything other than that, and they're blaming the couriers. And I did actually say myself that it wouldn't surprise me if it was customs who did it. Not the actual DPD delivery, although the DPD are cunts. And the delivery services are cunts. Some of them. Not all of them, some of them. But customs are cunts. They are. They really are. They're paid by the Americans to basically destroy anything coming in from countries they've got sanctions against. But nevertheless, I paid. I should have working. That's leaking. Not leaking. Don't tell me that's leaking. There's a trickle there. Is that a trickle? It is. Yeah, there's actually a leak there as well. Coming out the tap. Just noticed that. But I don't know when that leak. I've only just noticed that little line of that smeared line there. I've only just noticed it, so I don't know when. But I did notice there's a. I don't know if it's a leak or not, but that could be a leak there as well. Yeah, I think that's leaking as well. Shit. It really is a case of. I don't know tissues. It's a case of if it was kicked around, that's an easy target to kick, the tap. So that could be leaking there as well. Fuck. It's the following morning, and there's a little bit of a puddle. Not much of a puddle, but a bit of a puddle. The changing colour means that it must have gone all the way up that pipe, across the top, down that pipe, and down here. But it's not a massive puddle, it's only a little puddle. So I'm going to have to get a larger container of water. And protect my bloody books, I haven't read them yet. That's still bubbling a little bit. So I don't need to turn it on, because that's chugging away quite nicely. I just changed the water. You can keep your goldfish. I'll keep it my little fermenter. Well, that does not seem to be leaking anymore. It could have been something like a splash from the top, but I don't know. I don't want to turn it on and then have, oh yeah, that crud there from where it was bubbling up overnight. You could use that as yeast. Anyway, it could be because it was switched on and that the heat made it come out through there. I don't want to say bad things about the company. It could have been customs that did it and just gave it a kicking as it came through from China. I don't know. It is a pain, but it's working. And that's when it went on. I'm pretty sure it was the 25th yesterday. Hopefully a couple of weeks I can try it. I'm not exactly rushing to try it because I've got plenty of ale. So maybe in 2 weeks I'll try some and just to see what sort of taste it's going to be. I mean, that tap is high enough from the ground that I can put a small glass underneath it without having to move it. But it's not so heavy that it's dangerous to move. My dodgy joints, yeah, but it's 23 litres plus the metalwork. So you're probably talking 25 litres in total. That's not a big deal to lift up. Let's see, it's a goldfish. It is a little bit like when you get your first kid, first baby, and it's you lie there. Is she still breathing? Yes, it is. A lot. Unless you're my ex, in which case, ignore the baby, have sex. She was a right cunt. Yeah, I could do with a bigger container really. Or less water and raise it up higher. Could do that actually. It's a fiddly thing, nothing much. But I'm hoping to get out later on today. It's about 6 o'clock at the moment. I've been awake since midnight. Couldn't sleep. Anyway, as usual. So what I might do, half an hour before I go out, I'll switch it on just to get the temperature up inside. And that way I can just bugger off, switch it off and toddle off for the night, hopefully. Well, if it does piss down, I'm not walking in the rain. I don't mind it raining when I'm out. It's like sex. I don't mind getting wet during and after. I just don't want to get soaked before I start. Okie dokie. With regard to using this as a fermenter, it's useless. Simply because as soon as you switch it on, even on the lowest heat setting, just the agitation at the bottom makes the entire lot froth up and vomit out here. I've had the place flooded twice. It's literally a case of, as a fermenter, it's useless. Unless you're doing such a small amount to keep it low down. So if you're doing like a 10 litre fermentation, that'd be fine. But anything more than 10 litres is useless. I've got it in there at 22 litres. It's 22 or 23 litres, which is probably about here. And it's basically just pissing all up the spout. So it's a good job I didn't use this, which comes with it, because it would just be hitting the ceiling. It's literally a case of, to get any heat into it, you put it on at the lowest power setting, and it's just, because of the it's not the heat, it's the agitation from the heater. So that agitates it, it vibrates it, and it just sends the bubbles straight up the spout. And within 2 minutes, that'll be pissing out froth everywhere. And there's no way to get any heat into it other than that, unless you take off the top spout and put a heater down inside it. Now, as a bucket, it'll do the job. You can get yourself a little electric heater, not that one, just a little immersion heater, pop it down the spout and do it that way. That way it'll work. But basically it's a 200 quid bucket. Now, I've received no reply. It's now been a couple of weeks since I got this thing, and it's leaking from here a little bit. It's leaking from here, and the electric wiring, the dents, all this could have been caused by customs or by delivery drivers. But the fact of the matter is, the company who sold it have done fuck all other than talk. Oh, we can do this. They've made an offer of $3. Not £3, $3, which is about £1.50, which is fuck all. They've done nothing else, nothing at all. And any messages, they delete instantly, because you can message people on AliExpress, and they've deleted. And the thing is, it's not just them. The fact that every single message I had, and there was like over 100 from different companies or whatever that I bought stuff from, were deleted completely. The entire message history from AliExpress was deleted. So yeah, that's kind of pissing me off. And so I've got no way of getting heat into this other than taking off this spout, which I'm reluctant to do because I've got no idea where the fucking level is. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to wait. I'll put it in on the 25th of September. So what I'll do, I'll wait until it's had its 8 days fermentation, because that is how long, that is the main fermentation, is 8 days. And the company I bought the brew kit from, lovebrewing.co.uk, I think they're the ones I actually bought my air still from. Yeah, I bought a pack of them before, and the yeast was also shit. This one, the yeast that came with it was absolute shit, didn't work. Completely dead, and it's a common thing with them. I've had it 3 times, and each time the yeast was dead. And they try to make out it's your fault, something you've done wrong. And yet, as soon as I put bread yeast in, it worked fine. So yeah, and their attitude is basically ignore you, blame it on you, and then ignore you. So lovebrewing.uk, 0 customer service, with a cunt attitude that blames you, not them. And that is why we have a sight glass, so you can see when it starts to froth and you can turn the heat off. I did take some out of the tap. See, I think that's leaking from the tap. It's a bit too coincidental for it to be dripping right underneath the tap. That doesn't seem to have leaked again though, beside it. So yeah, sight glass, that's the reason I've got a sight glass. I did take some out to try before the ale, just to see if it had actually fermented. It had, but it needs more than just 1 week. So yeah, sight glass, it works. Okay, this has now been sat for 2 weeks. From putting it in to now, it's been 2 weeks. So it's a week fermentation and a week sitting. And it's a little bit cloudy, but it smells like ale. It tastes nice. It's got a nice hoppy flavour to it. It does have a really hop flavour. Slight hint of vanilla. But that was in the description as well. That's nice. That is very nice. What I'm going to do, as I've got about 2 litres spare in my keg, with that one, it's still a bit too dark, my porter. So I'm going to put 2 litres of this in with my keg to dilute a bit more than what I've already made. And then the rest of it is going to go into a container and sit for another couple of months. Because that is nice, but that would be a lot nicer after it's had another month to sit and settle. There's no findings gone in. It's just that beer kit I got. The yeast was shit, but I've had that before from lovebrewing.co.uk, whereby, yeah, the stuff works, but you've got to make your own yeast up because the yeast they give doesn't work. There's no apology, there's no replacement, it's just, oh, you did something wrong. That's the implication you get. But I'm not really doing it for the yeast, I'm doing it because I can make my own bloody yeast. But that's quite nice. Got a nice flavour. Yeah, that is a nice one. Considering it's also the cheapest they do, by the time you include delivery and buying it, you're probably talking maybe 20 something quid. Considering you're getting it delivered to your house, I think delivery is like 7 quid. But considering it's home delivered, and all I had to add to it was a kilo of sugar and some yeast, which I made up, some bread yeast. It had 1 week fermentation at about 20 Celsius and another week to just sit there and rest. It needs at least another few weeks to sit and rest. The longer it sits, the better the flavour and the more clear it will become without losing too much flavour. So yeah, success. That is quite nice. You can taste the hops and the barley. A little hint of you. That is a really nice combination, that one. May get some more at some point. There was a little bit of sediment in the bottom of that glass. So it could be that the tap is not quite high enough to be above the sediment level. But, you know, I didn't buy the thing really to do, there we go, really to do beer. I bought it to do spirits. Just open the top lid, air it in. Yeah. There is some lumps, there is some sediment still coming through. So there are a few chunks coming out. I mean, the tap is maybe like that much above the base. So it's pretty clear coming through. And by the time it's been sat for another month or so, it'll be even clearer. I just don't really want my phone to drop into it. It's not as if anybody's supplying me with bloody phones. I mean, as a brewing container goes, the still works. I'm not happy using the thermostat on there because it seems too aggressive. So what I might do, if I use it again, I probably will use it again as a fermenter. But what I'll do next time is I'll use one of my submersible heaters and just drop it down inside and do it that way instead. It's not coming out very fast, is it? But the reason I'm transferring it now is I just done a batch of sugar wash. Kind of sugar wash. It started off as sugar wash in a 6 litre jar, And then I added some grapes that were a bit too manky to eat, and some apples. But I've also used the turbo clear carbon fining stuff in there as well. So it's fairly clear. And considering the amount of extra stuff that's gone into it, I wonder if that's coming out so slow because it could be blocked up with sediment, the pipe. Could be, I don't know. I saw a couple of lumps come out when I first turned the tap on, but that's coming out fairly clear now. Don't drink too much of it when you first make it, because it will give you a headache, because it's, wow, that is a lot clearer. That is coming out a lot clearer now than the first batch. The first stuff that came out, it was very, very cloudy. That was because it was the very bottom, so it was a lot of sediment I was drinking. Yep, this, well, you can see that, is, come on, thingy, there we go. That is massively clearer. So that first batch that came out, the first glass, that was basically very cloudy, the first bit that came out. This is a lot more clear. That is very, very nice. So yeah, the tap is set a little bit too low for fermentation. Distillation, fine. Fermentation, no. But I mean, it's not an issue. I can just transfer it to this bucket and give it another month, and that'll settle quite nicely. That is very nice. The first glass was very sedimenty. Whereas this second glass, where it's come from slightly higher up the tank, is much better. The higher up the tank you go, the better it gets, because it's had longer to clear. So the very last bit to come out is going to be very, very nice. It's 8:30 in the morning, I'm not drinking anymore. Where's my spirits? Because whether or not I actually upload this video is debatable. I might do. I uploaded all the distilling stuff to a different channel, and I just got pissed off at YouTube, basically. They've got this thing whereby I'm trying to get the bucket at an angle so it's not splashing. If it splashes, you lose flavour. So every time you agitate it and make bubbles, that's your flavour evaporating into the air and the alcohol. Oh, I can check the alcohol content of my new toy. Where's my new toy? I bought an alchemizer. Where's my... I used it once with some spirits just to see, make sure, just to see how it works, and it did work quite well. I might even use my new welder later. How did that go? Can't find it. Oh. Could have put it in with my other distilling stuff. Slightly stressed due to surgery being screwing me over. Well, that can keep trickling away into the tank. I've got it set so it's going quite well, actually. Yeah, it's going to have a little hunt. I said hunt. I found it. I did a review on this, and you could actually see through my phone the result, which is quite handy. So, but you do have to shine a light on it to actually see through the thing, or you're an open window. Plus, you've got a focus on this thing, like a zoom, you can focus it. So you don't have to wear glasses while you're using it. So I'm going to take a little squirt and put a few drops on the lens. Just smear on there. And have a look. That is reading 15% alcohol. Not 14. Yeah, that's reading 15% alcohol, which is substantial. Lick it clean. Yeah, that's surprising. I didn't think it'd be that strong. How to drop out of there? Screwdriver. Yeah, so that's registering 15%. I don't know how accurate that is, but these things are meant to be quite accurate. So yeah, apparently 15%. It does taste strong. The flavour coming out does actually taste quite strong. And it's still trickling away, filling up. So yeah. Trickle, 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 trickle. It is kind of awkward getting the angle of this thing. I do not want to drop my phone in the beer. But the plan with my new welder, it's like a rechargeable welder. So, because this was leaking here, let's get this off. Right. Because it was leaking here when it was switched on, not a massive amount, but it was dribbling a little bit. I'm going to put a few spots of weld, if I can, there, just around here, because I think custom would give it a kicking. So anything sticking out like this, the wiring and the top piece got a kicking. So that was leaking as well, a little bit was hissing out here. So I'm going to put a few spots of weld in. I'm going to take it apart, clean it out. All the sediment left in here, I'm going to keep for the next time I do spirits or something else, because that's just concentrated flavour, all the sediment left behind. If you're using carbons and finings, I don't do that because it's basically toxic waste left behind. So, but doing like this, just using yeast, sugar and natural ingredients, I can reuse that stuff in the bottom for flavour. It's slowing down quite a bit coming out. But we're now up to 17 litres of beer. Now if you were to dilute that down to supermarket strength, it'd be 1,000 litres, you'd be talking at least double the quantity. Because if that's registering 15% alcohol, I've had alcohol pops that are weaker. So yeah, I mean your average beer is generally about, what, 5-6%? I actually did buy some beer a few weeks back. I was bored, so I thought I'd buy like 18 pack of, I don't know what it was, Carlsberg or something. And it's all right. It's basically fizzy piss with a bit of booze. It's not big on flavour. It's just something different. Whereas this is really, really nice. But yeah, I'm going to put 2 litres of that. I've got like a 2 litre gap in the top of that keg. You can see it quite clearly, the gap. That one is it's mainly a dark porter ale. So some of this help dilute it a bit more. That's quite a nice flavour actually. Yeah, that first glass was very sedimenty. And you can see how clear it is here. Because you can see through the bloody thing. That's how clear it's coming. So the further up the tank you go, the clearer it gets. And it's meant to be, I think, a 21 litre tank. So we're getting towards the end of it, really. Because the bottom couple of litres is going to be sediment. Yeah, we're plugging away here. I mean, I should get 20 litres out of it, really. But I didn't fill it all the way to the top. I think it's meant to be 23, actually. It's like 21 or 23 litre keg. But to get 23 litres, you got to fill it right to the road brim. And as it was, I filled it to about here, and it was coming up the spout. And that was with the extra spout on top. Right, that's pretty much down with drizzle. Dribble. Like when you're going for a piss and you get a bit old. Takes fucking ages. When it takes you all night to do what you used to do all night. So what I'm going to be doing now, I mean, there is still some liquid shining in there. That's what the reflecting is the liquid shining. So I might try and tilt it a little bit. I'm going to have to move the book out of the way that's angling it so I can get a bit more gap. I don't want to tilt it and snap the friggin' the thingy off. But yeah, there's more to come out. Not a lot more. But that should give me about, hopefully, what are we looking at there? 18 litres? 19 litres? It would probably be a bit weaker flavour-wise and alcohol-wise if I'd had the full amount in there, 23 litres. You might not make it up to 23 litres. And I probably had it about 20-ish. Just over 20 litres in there. So that's probably why it's got a stronger flavour and alcohol content. I could dilute it with water to make it up to the 20 litre mark. So I think 2 of those 23 litres is going to be sediment. So I could make it up to 21 litres in there with water. I don't know if I could be asked, really. I quite like a nice strong flavour. But yeah, drippy. That's pretty much it for that, I think. Yay! You know you're going too far when you see like a chemtrail from the sediment. And so far that's come out quite clear. What I might do actually is turn that off, just in case it leaks anymore. What I might do is take that lid off, which is a pain in the ass because it sticks with that rubber silicone seal, the removable one. It fucking welds itself basically. So it's very difficult to get off. And if you shake it too much, you're going to dislodge all the sediment and it's fucking pointless. So I've got most of it out and that is really nice. That is a really nice mixture. I'm slagging off lovebrewing.co.uk because the yeast is shit and our customer service is non-existent. He could have said, sorry about that, I'll send you another one. Like a yeast packet, which would cost him pennies and a stamp to send it. But no, fucking ignored me. Said, oh, did you check the readings before putting the yeast in? Well, first of all, you don't fucking have to, and it's not in the instructions. All you have to do is check the temperature. That's it. Before putting the yeast in. He just puts that kind of shit down to make people think it's their fault it didn't fucking work. It's really simple. Yeast is a living thing. If you store it at the wrong temperature, you kill it. And that's what he's obviously doing. He's got a fuckload of fucked yeast that he's killed off and he's still selling it to people. Because I complained to him before about this when I got some last year or whenever it was. So customer service, absolute fucking shit. But the beer itself, it works. So yeah, ale is done and nice. I actually got the lid off without too much grief this time. This is the inside of the keg. All the white frothy foamy stuff. The top surface stuff. I think what I might do, I'm just going to take off some more because there's another, God, at least 2 more litres in there. At least. I'm not going to pour it out really. Because you get all this smeg, all this foam come out as well, all this smeg stuff. Which smells really nice. So what I might actually do is get my funnel and just pour it into the keg. Because the keg has a bottom part to it so that the tap is above the ground. So all the sediment will eventually settle down to the bottom and all the floating stuff will stay floating on the top and I can still drink it. So yeah, that is going to go into my keg. And that will give me that, which is just pretty much fucking lovely. So that's about 18, 19 litres there. What does that say? About 19? Bloody eyesight. I've got about 19 litres in there. If I were to dilute that to 20, that would give me roughly 14% alcohol with a nice flavour. Yeah, it does need to sit for another few weeks. You can drink it now and it's great, but I still want to wait for at least another week or more before drinking it. And I've still got that one to go that I made last year. I've been adding to it. Yeah, so that is a residue left in there. There's not that much sediment really, thinking about it. Because the other thing about this keg, still, which is still not a keg, is that it's got a slight conical in the bottom, so sediment can settle into it. Yeah, you can see that where I disturbed the bottom, the sediment, it's all gone murky. So what I'm going to do, I'm not rushing to do my distillation. I've actually just done something to it to, how can I phrase this? Not drag on the process, but to make it wait a bit longer. What I've done is I picked some spearmint from outside and I put it in, scrunched it up, mixed it around. So I want to give it 24 hours in my sugar wash with that spearmint to give it a bit more flavour. Because I like spearmint, it gives a nice flavour. So yeah, that's the ale. That can sit there for another 24 hours, settle down again, the sediment, and then I'll pour it into that keg. This lot, I don't have bottles, that's the problem. That's the issue when you don't buy drink. You don't have empty bottles. Now you can store ale in plastic bottles, like pop bottles. If you're using spirits, it will actually poison you because it sucks out toxins from the plastic. So what I might do is leave that in that container for the time being because I don't need it at the moment. And then maybe get some plastic bottles and put it in to store it. I'm not rushing. I don't do it commercially, so it's just for personal use. Honestly, yeah. So that is the inside of the still. Yeah. Best thing about the still for using it for this job is that it's insulated. You've got a double skin, and I think there's a foam layer in between, and it does quite a good job of insulating it, so it retains the warmth. Oh, there's a tap down there. Yeah, okay.